Hey, what's up guys? Icy Soul here for Icy Duelist, bringing you another top 5 list this time for my discussion list rant video that I do every Tuesday. And this episode we're going to be talking about the top 5 coolest decks in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes. Now, these aren't necessarily the most powerful decks or, the most popular decks. They're just the decks that I thought, like the archetypes and, the monsters were cool and I enjoyed watching these decks in action in the animes. So without further ado, let's jump into this list. At number 5 we have Yami Bakura and his zombie deck. I'm specifically referring to his Battle City Occult deck. This deck was just super cool. I remember the most memorable duel for this deck for me was when he was dueling Bones in the cemetery right before Battle City. He needed to become a Battle City finalist, and he ended up winning all 6 locator cards that he needed. Well, I guess he had one locator card, and then he won the other 5 from Bones in this duel. And this duel was just absolutely creepy and awesome. And of course, his Battle City Finals duel with Yugi, where he played the Destiny board, was absolutely awesome. But I loved that. I loved Yami Bakura's zombie occult deck. It was just so cool. And of course, some cards in that deck were Headless Knight, Goblin Zombie, and Dark Necrofear. Awesome deck to watch Yami Bakura end up playing. At number 4, we have Akiza's Plant Synchro deck. Her main deck that she pretty much uses throughout the entire anime. And out of everybody, I think this is one of the only main protagonists actually on this list. Simply because Akiza's Plant Synchro deck, not only does it have really cool monsters, but Plant Synchro has managed to stay relevant in the game since 5Ds came out. And I mean, especially with Glow Up Bulb, coming back into the game, and the Legendary Collection 5Ds coming out, we're going to start to see a lot more of those Plant Synchro decks coming out that are similar to Akiza's, which included, at the time, Black Garden, Violet Witch, and Black Rose Dragon. Of course, Black Rose Dragon's my favorite Synchro monster of all time. And, yeah, I had to put Akiza's deck in here because I think it just fits her character really well, and she definitely plays it like a boss. So that's why Akiza's Plant Synchro deck is at number 4. At number 3, we have a minor characters deck. That is Camula's Vampire deck. Camula, of course, is one of the supporting characters in GX of the Rise of the Sacred Beasts story arc. And she was one of the Shadow Riders that attempted to win the keys to unlock the Sacred Beasts from, Jaden and his friends. And she runs this really interesting vampire deck that most cards were actually kind of just created out of the blue. Vampire Genesis was one of the only cards in that deck that was actually ended up being printed at all. In the real TCG. Actually, Vampire Bat was actually another card in that deck that it was previously printed, but it was actually printed not as an effect monster, but as a normal monster called Dark Bat. In, of course, the anime, it's an effect monster called Vampire Bat with a special effect, but if you look at the attack and defense of the card and kind of look at the artwork, you can tell what they were going for was Dark Bat. And I don't know which came first, if it was the card or the episode, but that's one thing. And of course, Zombie Werewolf is one of the coolest cards in that deck. And I don't think they ever really printed Zombie Werewolf. Yeah, Camula's deck is one that Vampire Genesis, like, yeah, as I said, was the only one that really got printed. And there was, like, so many other cool cards that I wish got printed because her deck was just totally cool and definitely made me want to play vampires just by watching her play it. So that's why Camula's Vampire deck is at number 3. At number 2, we have another deck that was no cards at all were printed in it, as far as I really know. At least, you know, the monsters and whatnot. And it's a deck that I just love to watch, and I wish they would have printed these cards. And that is the Doll Part deck belonging to Alice in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And Alice, of course, is a doll. Of course, we don't know that until the end of the episode, but Alice is a doll that comes to life when of course she watches. Alice is a doll who watches the Obelisk Blue students duel all day, and then she witnesses this one student who has this doll part, which is Doll Chimera, which is, you know, the card that she uses, the main card in her deck that she uses, and this Obelisk Blue doesn't see the value in this card and tears it up, and then I guess Doll Chimera's spirit and anger towards that Obelisk Blue student manifests within Alice and actually makes her real, and then Alice actually plays Doll Chimera in her deck, and oh my god, Doll Chimera is just freaking awesome to watch. I mean, you watch her boost that thing up to like 4,000 attack, and it gets insane. Like, it makes me like want to pick up this deck and play it. But man, it sucks because they never printed any of these doll parts. They didn't print Doll Chimera. They didn't print any of the previous doll parts. Any of the supporting cards for Doll Chimera were like, none of these were ever printed. And oh man, like, I hope they release another Legendary Collection GX so they can maybe print some of these Doll Chimera cards that were never released, and because I'd love to pick this deck up and play it. It just looks so much fun to play. And the number 1 deck in the anime that I think was by far the coolest deck was another deck where none of the cards were printed, and it was from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And that would be Blair Flanagan's Maiden deck. Wow. I absolutely am in love with this deck. It is such a cool archetype. I love the whole idea, you know, of using using counters in this way. I mean, spell books kind of use counters. And you know, other spellcasters, but this kind of spellcaster based counter archetype was a bit different, because, you know, it wasn't like, you know, magicians and magic and wizards and junk, and it was kind of all based around love, and I think it was a really kind of cute deck to see. And, you know, Maiden in Love with her. Maiden in Love could kind of kick some ass, and I'm sad that they never printed any of, you know, Blair's cards in the TCG. They may have printed them in the OCG, maybe, but I haven't actually seen them. But yeah, like Maiden in Love, Cupid's Kiss, Happy Marriage, like, these are all, like, just amazing cards, and I keep praying that these cards will come out someday so I can actually pick up this deck and play it, because I will play this deck like a motherfucker. And oh man, Blair's Maiden deck is just by far the coolest deck to me in all of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. But yeah, that was my top 5 list of the top 5 coolest decks in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes. Make sure if you guys have any top 5 coolest decks of your own, make sure you leave them in the comments below, so you can check that out, and, you know, other people can see what you think, and I can see what you guys think about what are the coolest decks in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And remember, we have another discussion list rant, whatever the case may be of one of those. We have another one of those coming up on next Tuesday. And of course, as always, more Yu-Gi-Oh content on this channel, including duel videos, openings, deck profiles. You can catch it all here on Icy Duelist. And as always, Icy Soul for Icy Duelist, signing out.